TYT Sports, everybody. Jason Rubin here with Michael Shore to talk about some postseason baseball. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I know we're both diehard baseball fans, and the two games that we've gotten so far in the one-game playoff.
It's also one of my favorite times of the year because it means that hockey season started.
Oh, that's true. Michael Shore, a big hockey fan. And we'll be on more. Tune in later because there's going to be hockey clips going up as well. But Madison Bumgarner, single-handedly with the help, well, not single-handedly, but Madison Bumgarner with some help from Brandon Crawford, pummeled the Pittsburgh Pirates in the one-game playoff yesterday.
Yeah, and it was Brandon Crawford, but you're right about Madison Bumgarner, because in a one-game series, a great start, not just a quality start, is important, I would say. You cannot understate it. It's the most important part. So if you get a fantastic start out of your starter who's selected to play that game, most often you will. I mean, there have been pitchers' duels in those games, but you know he was dominating. And listen, there was one team. Josh Harrison was 2 for 4 in that game. The rest of the lineup was 2 for 28. Right. So,
and I think Madison Bumgarner only allowed 4 measly singles and a walk amongst his 11 strikeouts. His complete game, which he did call. He said he was going to go out there and throw a complete game shutout, and he did. Much respect for that. But the other issue is like the pitching matchup. You know, it's Bumgarner versus Edison Volquez. If you're going to send Edison Volquez out in a one-game playoff against someone like Madison Bumgarner, who is absolutely part of the elite class of pitchers and seems to get left out. He was a 2-time NL Pitcher of the Month. In May and in August, where in those combined months he was around 9-1 with a 2 ERA and 3 walks.
Yeah, but Edison Volquez, in his defense, in his last 10 starts, was unhittable, was spectacularly good. I think in 9 of those 10 starts he was amazing, and in the other one it was a great. He pitched really well. But if you en masse, those stats for the last 10 games were incredible. So he was the hot hand. I mean, Liriano just pitched. You can't pitch him on 3 days rest. So I think it was I don't think that was the problem. It's just they weren't able to hit Bumgarner. That's what happened.
And he literally was unhittable. And first of all, we have a vine of Bumgarner because I do believe, Michael, that baseball players celebrate the best. Now I know you're a big hockey fan. You might disagree.
It's not might. You're wrong. So that's all. So okay, now we're done with that conversation.
We're going to show the vine of Bumgarner. Said, So there's Bumgarner celebrating after a huge win. And there's one quote from Yahoo Sports that I do have to read because I do find it amazing. It comes from Tim Hudson, who I do believe will have an enormous impact, especially
if he's on the roster.
He
was on the roster yesterday, but they weren't sure whether he was going to. You know, there's talk that he might be one of the people in a 5-game series who isn't, but they're not sure.
Personally speaking, I think that absolutely you put Tim Hudson in there.
I do too.
It's a great pickup in the beginning of the season.
Surprising to hear that.
Veteran pitcher too, but coming from Giants starting pitcher Tim Hudson, he don't come with a lot of flair. This is on Madison Bumgarner, but he goes out there and sticks it right up your butt.
Right.
I think those are spot on.
That's what you want in a pitcher. I guess.
It's unbelievable. But so we were also talking like moving forward. So the Pirates 2 straight years in the one-game playoff losing. Is it a clutch problem? Is it a one-game playoff problem, or is it one pitcher went out there and Bumgarner?
Well, I mean, in this case, it's not. You can't say you have a problem in one-game playoffs until you've played in a bunch of them. I mean, they've lost 2. It's a weird system to play. You know, they had such an amazing season. The Cardinals lose, the Pirates win that division, and you know there's so many things that could have happened. I mean, I have a problem with it. I think it should be a 2 out of 3 because I think that's what baseball is. Baseball is not a one-game. Now, to decide the division as they used to do, and they'd have those one-game playoffs. That's fine. The one-game playoff to decide who gets into the playoffs in a tie is fine. But in this sort of situation, if you're going to have the wild card, play a short series, play a 2 out of 3. But that's for another day. So I don't think there's something systemically wrong with the Pirates. They lost 2 games, and they lost last night to an amazing pitching performance. So.
And then moving forward, the Giants play the Nationals in the National League Division Series. Yeah. Who do you got moving on?
Well, listen. I think that I look at the starting pitching, and I see the Nationals hitting the ball really well, sort of all around. They're hitting the ball really well. I think Washington is playing better. They got through the Braves. They got through, you know, the Marlins are the only other. They have a softer division than the Giants had to play. So I think that when you look at the season, you say, well, the Giants have played tougher teams. They faced better pitchers on average, I would imagine. I mean, they played the Dodgers, I think, 114 times. So that means they saw Kershaw at least 30. But truth be told, you know, the Nationals have played good, sound baseball, and they're getting good starts, and then they go deep into that bullpen. And when you get deep into that bullpen with Soriano and Storen, it's a tough thing. And the Giants don't have that. And Machi's not pitching as well as he was at the beginning of the year. Casilla is sort of their default closer, but he wasn't the guy that was supposed to be the closer this year. It gets into that middle relief and bullpen, and I give the nod to Washington.
You give the nod to Washington, a 5-game series, and the Giants are just an every other year team, it seems like. I say that because every other year for the past 3-4 years, they've won the World Series.
Yeah.
It's very similar to David Price, who's an every other year pitcher.
Right.
And they also align in that time for those years. But something about watching the Giants yesterday, and yes, Madison Bumgarner, again, as we've mentioned him time in and time out, it was an amazing pitching performance, but that offense, I love Buster Posey. I think he's a fantastic game caller. Pablo Sandoval, if his bat heats up just a little bit, which tends to happen in the postseason.
Well, also he's healthier now at this point of the season than he was all season. Right. So I think that's an important thing to look at. Right. He's a potent bat, and he's a great fielder.
And the Nationals are a deep team pitching and bullpen. I think the Giants have a deeper team offensively. And Hunter Pence, who doesn't like magic, is still playing well, even with all the trolled signs out there. And I'm very excited going forward with the more signs there's going to be.
Well, and Hunter Pence and Jason Worth they're both players to watch in that they play the game the same way. And so that's a good, you know, they don't match up against each other as pitchers would, but it's still, you know, positionally it's a good matchup.
Right. I have to give the nod to the Giants. Seems like every other year they heat up at the right time. Momentum, although I don't think it only exists as much as your next starting pitcher. Yeah. Something's going to play a role into that.
Well, listen, they have to. The Giants have to get those early runs. Mm-hmm. They have to get ahead of the Marlins. Of the National starters, and that's what teams like the Marlins and the Braves and the Mets weren't able to do. They were always scraping back against the Nationals. Get to the Nationals early, and then perhaps the Giants have a better chance. They have to swarm them with runs. I mean, they have to score. It's basic baseball. They have to score those early runs.
Yeah, especially in a season where it's been the fewest amount of runs scored in a long time.
Yeah.
And strikeouts are up. It should be the whole baseball postseason. I'm ecstatic for. I love it. And we're going forward. Michael has the Nationals. I myself have the Giants.
I'm going to say the Nationals in 5 games.
I'm very similar, except just the other team, the Giants in 5. I think it will go 5. I love it.
See, I think if the Giants do win the series, the Giants could win in 3 possibly. I think that if the Giants have hit a stride, then they're just going to swarm them. But I don't think that's happening.
I see a win coming out of Zimmerman or Strasburg or one of these.
Zimmerman pitched well last time out, so.
I'm a big fan of Jordan Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Very much. I make the comparison. It's a bold comparison, but there's reasons for it being Greg Maddux and how he's not a big strikeout pitcher, but he knows when his command's on, it's scary because he knows where that ball is going to go and where it's going to be in the infield.
But he's still not the pitcher that Maddux was, and if you knew you were facing Maddux, there was an intimidation factor to it. Yeah, you always think you can beat Zimmerman if you're another team, but the Marlins couldn't even get a hit off of him. So
that's true. This is true. All right, guys, thank you for watching TYT Sports. Don't forget to subscribe, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at TYT Sports. And we'll see you next time.